Thank you for the invitation again. So I work for Campus France. Campus France is a French national agency dedicated to the promotion of French higher education overseas and to the management of student services and international mobility. I work in the unit dedicated to the EU-funded projects, and within the scope of our activities we manage several European projects whose two are dedicated to refugees. The first one is called HOPES project, funded by the Madad Trust Fund, dedicated to the Syrian crisis. And the second one is the InHERE project, and this is the project I would like to present you today. So InHERE stands for Higher Education Supporting Refugees in Europe. It was a 2-year project and it just ended last September, 2 months ago. It was founded by the Erasmus Plus program. The action was coordinated by UNIMED, the Mediterranean Universities Union, and implemented with Sapienza University of Rome, University of Barcelona, Campus France, EUA, the European University Association, and the UNHCR as associate partner. The objective of the project was to reinforce knowledge sharing, peer support, and academic partnerships to facilitate integration and access of refugees to higher education in Europe. The main outputs of the project are first the creation of an extensive good practice catalogue. This is the publication of this catalogue, and you can find this publication on the InHERE website. This catalogue is a product of an in-depth analysis of more than 300 initiatives from 32 countries in Europe, where organizations and institutions were very committed to welcoming refugees, and that have participated in the EU's Refugees Welcome Map. And you can also find the link to this welcome map on the InHERE website. Another output is the development of a living lab, which is a system where staff members from European universities can experience and evaluate their practices and policies for the integration of refugees into higher education. And 2 main modalities were used for the operational running of this living lab: the organization of a series of webinars and the organization of several events, universities workshop, staff training, and multiplier events, where staff members were able to meet each other during the project implementation and share ideas and good practices. And 2 other important outputs are the creation of guidelines. The guideline for university staff members, as well as a policy recommendation paper. And these 2 publications can be found and downloaded also from the InHERE website. And I would like to focus today on these two last results. The guidelines aims at helping universities for better understanding where they are where their position with regard to the services offered to international students and students who have the status of refugees. So it's not a tool to teach or to sort out on a merit-based evaluation the different universities on what they do in their own country, but it's more a tool that gives evidence that the EU countries have been involved a lot so far in welcoming refugees, but much more can be done in the future to reinforce social inclusion and to give answers to the refugee issues. So the guidelines are structured in dividing the identified refugee-related activities in 3 main categories. First, access, which is dedicated to the services that aims at facilitating the enrollment of refugees. Could be access to information, recruitment procedures, financial support, or recognition of prior qualification. The second category is integration. Integration, which includes services for refugee students after their enrollment. So it could be academic and social integration, psychological support, career guidance, etc. And then the last category of the guidelines is called strategic planning. And this part describes the strategic approaches adoptable by the institutions to guarantee integration measures, and can be the management of services offered to refugees, collaboration between different stakeholders, but also between the different unit, department of a university, and the sustainability of projects and fund. So each category is then subdivided into subcategories where the services are listed, and the services listed in the guidelines are non-exhaustive, but give a good picture of what can be done. And then the services are then subdivided again in 3 levels of involvement and performance: minimum, medium, or maximum level of performance. So I guess I can show you an example, it will be clearer. For instance, if you take the first category, access, then you have a third category, which is access to information. And in this subcategory, then the services are listed and divided in the different level of performance. For instance, at the minimum level of involvement, the service can be just information on refugee access to higher education, is available inside the international, the section dedicated to international students on the website. Then, if the university proposes a service at a medium level of involvement, we can see that, for instance, a wall page dedicated to refugees is available on the institutional website. And then the maximum level of performance could be that there is information on refugees accessible and visible directly from the homepage of the institutional website, and for instance the information is translated in the main languages spoken by refugees. And for each categories there is also a small section called Gate Inspired at the bottom, and this is interesting because from the good practice catalog we have selected the best example, the best good practice for the maximum level of performance. So for each category you can then look at a concrete example with links to the institution website. So we can say that the guidelines give us a very stimulating and inspiring picture of what is implemented in the institution in Europe, and we have summarized that in a slogan which can be from a fragmentary to a holistic approach. On the one hand, the fragmentary approach is presented by the implementation of services at a minimum degree of involvement, and on the other hand, the comprehensive or holistic attitude reveals really deep commitment, participation, and connection of their offered services. And last but not least, on the guidelines, I would like to say that in order to make the guidelines more interactive and to allow the universities to play with the guidelines, we have created a self-assessment tool at the beginning of the guidelines. So you can just answer the questions, and you can then see where your institution is positioned on the virtual line from a fragmentary to a holistic approach. So this is a book that you can use, and you can play with it. How many times? Okay. Now it's okay. Okay, just I would like just to say one word on the recommendation, because another important result of the project is the recommendation, which are more policy recommendations. These recommendations have been developed thanks to the participation of the European institution in the InHERE events. And thanks to their ideas and participation, we have identified the main priority actions. That to say, first, provide the refugees with better access to information. This is very crucial. Encourage the development of and the sustainability of best practice across Europe. Encourage the development of funding. All the universities require more funds for their activities. facilitate the harmonization of procedures across Europe, and also facilitate the employability of qualified students and researchers. And you can find this recommendation online. They are also listed in the document you prepared in your conference folder. And just to conclude, I would like to say that the good practice catalog, the guidelines, the recommendation, and in generally speaking, the InHERE projects aims at spread, of course, the results, but also the huge amount of lessons learned that we learned during the project implementation. This project was also here to inspire and guide the institution, European and non-European institution, in implementing their refugee-related actions, and also raise stakeholders' awareness and decision-makers' awareness about opportunities and strategies for the integration of refugees. And we have already sent the draft version of the recommendation to the European Commission and to some ministries, French ministries, for instance, and hope that actions will be followed.